Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're really diving headfirst into some of life's, well, truly huge questions.
Yeah, the big ones.
Those moments when we wrestle with, overwhelming power, the mystery of justice, why things happen the way they do, and that deep feeling of helplessness that, let's be honest, we all hit sooner or later.
Definitely.
And we're going to pull insights from an incredibly ancient source, but one that feels remarkably relevant.
Absolutely.
Our mission today is to take a deep dive into excerpts from the biblical book of Job, specifically chapter 9. We want to pull out some powerful insights that, resonate with our lives today, but also maybe even strengthen our faith, encourage trust, maybe even obedience when things feel incomprehensible.
It's a powerful text.
It is challenging, full of raw emotion, difficult truths, but the journey, I think, is incredibly rewarding. Okay, let's unpack this.
It really is a profound journey. And maybe just to set the scene a little for anyone less familiar with Job, we find him here in just unimaginable suffering. He's lost everything, wealth, kids, his health is gone. And in chapter 9, he's actually responding to one of his friends, Bildad.
Right, the comforters.
Exactly, who've come to offer, well, their version of comfort, which
Right.
mostly sounds like accusation, like, Job, what did you do wrong?
Yeah.
But what's amazing here is this isn't just some dusty old story. It's raw. It's an honest wrestling match. Job is grappling, like face to face with God's absolute power, which feels almost indifferent sometimes, and what seems to Job like totally elusive, unfair justice. So we'll explore how his experience, this intense personal struggle, can shed light on our own times of feeling powerless, trying to make sense of God's ways when, frankly, the world just doesn't add up.
And he jumps right in, doesn't he? Straight into the heart of it. That opening of chapter 9, it's so poignant. He says, I know it is so of a truth, but how should man be just with God?
Right there. That's the core tension.
It just says it all. He gets it, God's greatness, his truth, it's undeniable. But then, how? How can a person, small, fragile, stand before that kind of power and be declared, okay, righteous? It seems impossible to him.
A total paradox.
And then he launches into this description of God's might. It's almost terrifying. God removeth the mountains, and they know not, which overturneth them in his anger.
It's humbling, isn't it, that cosmic scale? And he goes on, God shaketh the earth out of her place, and the pillars thereof tremble.
Wow.
Just imagine that, the foundations of everything shaking. He controls the cosmos itself, commanding the sun, and it riseth not, and sealeth up the stars.
It's not just powerful, it's ultimate power.
Exactly. The architect, the ruler, he alone spreadeth out the heavens and treadeth upon the waves of the sea. It's a power that seems to operate almost beyond human consequence or understanding.
And even get specific, right? Naming constellations. Maketh Arcturus, Orion, and Pleiades, and the chambers of the south.
Grounding it slightly.
Yeah, but then concluding with this staggering idea. God doeth great things past finding out, yea, and wonders without number. You just get this sense of God's, untouchable majesty. His wisdom is just beyond us.
Completely unfathomable.
And because of all that, Job feels totally, utterly unable to argue his case. He says, almost despairing, if he will contend with him, he cannot answer him 1 of 1,000.
1 in 1,000.
He knows, even if he was perfect, had the best argument, how could he even start? He feels like his own words would end up condemning him, just because of the sheer power difference. It's like being completely outmatched.
And that's the paradox he's wrestling with, right? He holds on to this idea God is powerful, that's true.
Right.
But then there's his experience, innocent suffering, feeling totally crushed by the same God, unable to prove anything. He says, God breaketh me with a tempest and multiplieth my wounds without cause.
Without cause. That's the key for him.
Yes. He feels filled with this bitterness, like he can't even catch his breath. But what's really heartbreaking, and I think incredibly insightful, is this deep sense of isolation he feels. This longing for someone, anyone, to bridge the gap.
That's the daysman part.
Exactly. He cries out, neither is there any daysman betwixt us that might lay his hand upon us both.
Wow. Explain that a bit more, the daysman.
Think of it like more than just a lawyer. It's an arbiter, a mediator, someone neutral, but also powerful enough, trusted enough by both sides to literally put a hand on each person.
Yeah.
Symbolizing, bringing them together, finding a resolution.
Ah, okay. So it's about connection too, not just justice.
Precisely. Job's desperate need isn't just to be proven right. It's for understanding, for connection, for someone to bridge this massive chasm between him and God. And that, I think, speaks to a really universal human need, doesn't it? To be heard, understood, especially when we're facing something huge and seemingly unfair.
Wow. Yeah, that longing for a daysman, that really hit you. Okay, so this brings us right to it. Here's where it gets really interesting. What can this ancient text, Job's raw cry, tell us about our lives today in the 21st century?
Right.
Because his experience, as painful and, ancient as it seems, it holds some really powerful truths for us. Truths that can actually strengthen our faith when we're in the thick of our own challenges.
Absolutely it does. I think, first off, Job's honesty forces us to confront something maybe uncomfortable. Our control is often an illusion. He makes us look at God's absolute, often, unfathomable power, commanding stars, shaking mountains. It operates beyond our understanding, beyond our consent sometimes.
Right, it's not on our level.
Not at all. And realizing that fosters, humility, awe, maybe even a deeper kind of obedience that comes from recognizing he sees things we don't. It's a call to trust, even when we don't get the why.
Okay, that makes sense. And building on that, his struggle really shows how justice can feel so elusive when we're suffering.
Definitely.
He's got this agonizing tension. He believes in divine justice, but his experience is just pain, and for no reason he can see. That validates our questions when life feels deeply, inexplicably unfair.
It gives us permission to feel that tension, Job isn't afraid to voice it, and neither should we be.
It's okay to wrestle with it.
Exactly. And related to that, he really challenges that idea, the one we sometimes carry around, that suffering is always a direct punishment for doing wrong.
The you get what you deserve idea.
Pretty much. Job knows he's innocent, but he can't prove it. And this highlights a really difficult truth.
Yeah.
Sometimes innocent people do suffer.
Yeah, that's tough.
It is.
Kidding?
Think how quick we are sometimes to judge someone who's struggling. We look for the cause, the fault. But Job's story kind of blows that comfortable idea apart.
It makes things more complex.
It does. Sometimes there isn't a clear why that we can see. And realizing that, it should lead us to empathy, shouldn't it? Towards others who are hurting. And paradoxically, maybe seeing that God's justice isn't limited by our understanding, that his plan might be bigger. That can actually, strangely, strengthen our faith in his overall control, his sovereignty.
That's a deep thought.
Yeah.
Okay, and finally, that cry for a mediator, the daysman.
Yeah, that longing.
It speaks to something really deep in us, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That universal need. And for many people of faith, that ancient longing for someone to bridge the gap, to reconcile us with the divine, finds its answer.
It does. And seeing that connection across thousands of years, seeing that same human yearning echoed in Job, that can profoundly strengthen faith. It shows how relevant these ancient cries still are. It's a timeless need for connection, for reconciliation.
So, okay, we've heard Job's ancient cry, this powerful wrestling. But what does it mean for us, for you, the listener, right now in the middle of modern life, modern challenges? How can these words actually encourage us, strengthen our faith, maybe even foster obedience today? Because we all face those moments, right? Feeling overwhelmed, control slipping away.
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? How do we apply this? First, I think Job's honesty is key. It teaches us it is okay to question. It's okay to wrestle with God.
Faith isn't about pretending everything's fine.
Not at all. Faith isn't denying struggle. Look, God doesn't shut Job down for his raw questions, his anger, his sorrow. Actually, he ends up affirming Job's integrity later on.
Right.
So that encourages a deeper, more authentic faith, and obedience built on real relationship, real honesty, not just going through the motions or hiding our doubts. You can be real with God about your pain.
That's freeing. Okay, second point.
Second, Job's feeling of being overwhelmed, totally powerless. It's a reminder that, that's part of being human.
Yeah, we aren't in control of everything.
Far from it. So many things today feel overwhelming. Global events, personal crises, things way beyond our influence. Job reminds us, feeling helpless doesn't mean you lack faith. It's just human.
Recognizing that is important.
It really is. It can actually encourage us to persevere, maybe lean more on God, knowing you're not alone and feeling that way. It's often in that powerlessness we find his strength.
Okay, makes sense. Third,
don't confuse God's silence with God's absence. This is huge. Even when Job felt totally unheard, abandoned, like God was a million miles away, God was still listening.
Even when it feels like shouting into the void.
Exactly. Your prayers, your cries, they matter. They are heard, even if the answers aren't immediate or aren't what you expect or aren't clear. Trusting that, choosing to trust that, directly strengthens faith. It encourages us to keep praying, keep trusting his presence, even when the silence is deafening. It's obedience in the waiting.
Trusting even in the silence. Okay, powerful. And the last one.
Lastly, and maybe tying it all together,
Yeah.
try to look beyond your immediate feelings to God's unchanging character.
Even when feelings are screaming otherwise.
Especially then. Despite his despair, his confusion, his sense of injustice, Job still keeps acknowledging God's power, his sovereignty, right through this chapter. He doesn't let go of who God fundamentally is. So when we can't trace God's hand, when we don't get the why of our suffering or the world's chaos, we can still choose to trust his heart, his character, his goodness, his love, his ultimate justice, which maybe we can't see right now.
Trusting who he is even when we don't understand what he's doing.
Exactly. And that's a profound call to obedience, isn't it? And obedience rooted in trust, not in full understanding. And that's crucial for strengthening faith, because it anchors us not on shifting feelings, but on the solid rock of who God has revealed himself to be.
Wow. What an incredible journey we've taken today. From Job's really agonizing cry of despair, his confusion, all the way to these profound applications for our own faith, our own trust.
Yeah, it covers a lot of ground.
As we wrap up this deep dive into Job 9, what really stands out, I think, is the courage of his questions. It shows us it's okay to wrestle with the big stuff, God's power, the mystery of suffering. But even in that wrestling, we can find strength, find encouragement by holding on to God's character and recognizing that deep human need for connection.
Absolutely. And Job's story, especially that raw cry for Mediator, for that daysman, it just echoes through time, doesn't it? It points to that deep human need for reconciliation, for understanding, for a bridge across the chasm. And for many, that need finds its answer, providing immense comfort, strengthening that connection to the divine.
So as you go about your week, maybe something to think about, something Job's journey really brings up is this. In those moments where you feel overwhelmed, powerless, what helps you trust God's character, even when you can't trace his hand in your circumstances?